Today we're going to go on a little history lesson, and we're going to kind of talk about the jail and kind of what some of the things that we do. Um, Not a lot of people know the history. In fact, I didn't even know the history until I started delving into it. So I reached out to archives and Springfield News Leader and got some factual information about how the jail even came to be. So the first Greene County Jail was built around 1836, 3 years after the Greene County was formed. The original jail was a small log structure that was located in is what now the city of Springfield at Main and Boonville, so not very far away. A second jail was built along with the new courthouse in 1861. The jail was a two-story structure located on the west side of the downtown square. It was used as a prison by both the Confederate and Union armies at different times in the Civil War. A third jail was built in 1891 on Robertson, north of the historic courthouse, just right over here. Its capacity was 35 to 40 prisoners. In 1930, this jail reached a population of 160. Overcrowding and poor conditions led to the need of another jail. The construction of the fourth jail was completed in 1937. It attached via a raised corridor to the back of this current building, historic courthouse, off the third floor. Whenever I started back in 1995, that jail was actually still in operation, and I got the privilege of working in it for a number of years before it was raised in order to make room for a new facility. You can see this is actually a picture out of the courthouse third floor overlooking when the jail was being built back in 1937. That jail served the county until the 1980s when a new three-story tower was built on the north end of the 1930s jail, and that building is still there. 2 additional floors were added to that tower in later years. This tower is still in use and holds prisoners during the day awaiting to be taken to the courthouse for their appearances. The total capacity of this tower combined with the 1930s portion of the jail was right around 400. And obviously, when I started, that tower and that 1930s jail is all that existed for the jail at that time. In 2002, a new section of the jail was opened to improve security and comply with new state and federal regulations. The capacity was 500 inmates. During the construction of the jail, that jail built in the 1936 was torn down. Over the years, several renovations occurred to increase the capacity up to 701. By 2016, the average daily population of the jail had overtaken the capacity of 701. We reached a population of 960 inmates in September of 2019. During those years, temporary trailer jails were erected, and we housed inmates in other counties to combat the overcrowding issue. It's a pretty sticky situation. Most of the people that were around that time knows how expensive that was in order to maintain those facilities and house in other counties. You can see there, that's the picture of what will be the new judicial system where we're going to be creating some new courthouses, and that's actually a picture inside one of the pods of that facility. In 2018, the voters passed a half-cent general revenue sales tax that allowed the county to help solve the most recent overcrowding issue. The plan was to build a new 1,242-bed jail, along with a new 2-story sheriff's office on 23 acres outside of the crowded downtown Greene County campus. In June of 2022, the new jail opened at 1199 North Hazeltine Road, and inmates were transferred from the old jail. We currently have an average daily population around 841. Yesterday's population was just a little over 1,000. So we vary quite a bit in our population from day to day. That's a picture of the campus with the facility that was under construction. The jail has a 2024 allocated budget of $42 million. I don't know if people realized how expensive it is to operate a jail. This includes everything from employee salaries to the food and health care for the inmates. The only department in the county that comes close to this is the highway department with an annual budget, and that's the entire highway department, of $40.4 million. So just the jail part of the sheriff's office budget is more than the highway department. The jail also has several revenue streams and is not completely dependent on taxpayer money. Between those revenue streams in 2024, the jail anticipates bringing in $14.5 million. This is a mix between several sources, including federal boarding contracts, commissary sales, and vendor contracts. With the expansion of the facility, our staffing also grew. Today, the jail employs 430 staff who work throughout the facility. The jail actually employs the single largest staff out of all the county divisions. There are 3 captains responsible for managing the jail. And I'm going to give a shout out here. Captain Melissa Howe, she's going to be retiring December the 2nd, just about a week. She's got about a week left. Yeah. So actually her retirement party is going to be on the 2nd. So for those of you the guys that know Captain Howe and love her as much as we do, you're welcome to come to her retirement ceremony. So she's currently the captain over the administration section of the jail. We have Captain Stan Hancock. He's captain over the booking in the courts. And we have Captain Royce Denny. He's captain over the housing. With that, I'm going to turn this over to Melissa Howell, and she's going to talk about her section.
This is the picture of the jail administration. They keep the lights down low so it doesn't bother their eyes, but that's where we have all of several of our staff are in there, in the cubicles, and the captain's offices are all in this area. Our programs, individual. This is our medical and mental health. This is the upstairs where inmates aren't allowed. This is their offices and cubicles where they do all that stuff. We have a mental health psychologist, full-time psychologist, and we have a full-time social worker and 2 PLPCs and 2 LPCs right now. And this is medical. It's kind of like a mini ER. We do house inmates in there that come back from the hospital. This is where they see the patients, the inmates, they'll see them for clinical. They do procedures if they need them. Doctors have come in and done stitches if they've gotten a fight or something like that. But it's kind of like a mini ER and urgent care. It's, if you haven't been over there and seen it, it's really nice. And we have our male mental health unit where we house anybody that's on a mental health watch. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the jail is the largest mental health facility in Springfield. That's where everybody comes. You know, they don't necessarily belong in there, but that's what happens. They end up coming there. And then we have our female seg watch. So that's segregation for the females and anybody that's on a mental health watch. Commissary. So they get store. They can get whatever they want. They spend on they'll spend an average of $100,000 a month. The inmates, their families put money on their books, and that's they can get T-shirts, socks, boxer shorts, sandals. I think we still do the sandals, chips, tuna, chicken. And then we have, oops, I went the wrong way. He told me that. And then we have vending machines that they can just go in and they scan a barcode on their wristband and they can get whatever they want out of that. We don't keep a lot of expensive stuff in there because unfortunately some of them have nothing to do but figure out how to scam us. So, but they've done that before, but we've kind of locked that down a little bit. This is our kitchen, and they make an average of 3,000 meals a day. So when you consider they get three meals a day, and if our population's over 1,000, they're going to make more than that. But on average, it's around 3,000 meals a day, and we have 7 staff. I can't even see that. 7 staff in there that work. We have a sergeant and a corporal, And then you have the trustees. So we have about 20 some trustees. Sometimes we have less because we only allow the trustee workers, they have to be in there on crimes that aren't against a person. So it has to be less violent. If they have a crime like domestic second or assault first or murder, they're not allowed to be a trustee. We don't want them working in our kitchens and commissary offices. And there's where they prepare a lot of the stuff, although the kitchen's really big. We have a really nice kitchen since we moved into the new jail. Our other one wasn't bad, but this one is very state of the art. And laundry. If you can imagine doing laundry for 900 and some inmates, it's just constant. They're always washing. And then the ones that are going in and out, I think we had 75 leave the other day, so you have to wash everything that they had. And we have 3 trustees that generally work in there with 1 officer, so they're folding and washing all day long. And our mail room. This is a memorial to Dwight Willis. Anybody that knew him, he worked with us for 20 years. 20. And we dedicated it to him, but the mail room handles all the mail going in and out of the jail. Also, they watch videos, video visits, and listen to phone calls, and they're able to stop crimes and stuff a lot of times, or give information to the prosecutors and stuff so they can use that. Unfortunately, they're not smart enough not to talk about what they've done. And let's hand it over to, we do have programs also. I didn't have a slide in there for that. Our programs, we have church services. Several churches come in and they do Bible study. They'll do church services on Sunday, and we live stream it throughout the jail. They'll be in one unit, and then they'll go to another unit the next time they come in. The inmates really enjoy that. We have AA, NA. We used to have Hit No More. I can't remember what others we have. And we have a library where they get books every day.
Well, good morning, and thank you for inviting us here to present what we have, and kind of exciting that we've come from what Captain Johnson showed us where we're at now. And I'll show you a little bit of the progression that we've done. About 1.5 years ago, we decided to start a canine program in the jail, and all of our dogs are pretty much rescue dogs. So that was kind of a yay for us, type thing. So we enjoyed picking them, and we probably went over 200 and some dogs before we found the 4 that we have in the jail currently. That picture up there was Grizz. He's one of our best dogs. He found some drugs in the jail just as of yesterday. So they're very productive and very good at what they do. And then they're very trained. So I'll just kind of talk a little bit about that. What our canines do is they're going to search inmates during the intake process. So when they come in, they'll sit down in a chair and dogs will run around them. And obviously we know how these stuff gets in the jail. So those dogs do find stuff at times in those places. I'll just leave it at that. They also search the housing units. So obviously that's where Grizz yesterday went into a housing unit and was sniffing around and indicated in 2 different areas. And they wound up locating some sort of substance, which will then eventually go get tested at the lab. So good job for Grizz and his handler, Wallace. They also search secure and non-secure areas of the sheriff's office. That's kind of a partially training and just benefit to just kind of walk around and make sure that our employees aren't doing something they shouldn't. And so far, that's been good. Search the jail vehicles, including transport vehicles. So if SPD or Greene County brings somebody in, they can ask and say, hey, I've got this guy back here who's moving around while I was transporting him. I think he might have dropped some dope or something in the back seat. The dogs can go in there. They indicate, they'll look and find something. So they're a very multi-purpose type dog at this point. Searches and patrol vehicle upon request. Our dogs are good for the employees because they'll go around throughout the whole jail, the admin area, back in the back, and the officer sometimes just having a bad day and he goes, I need to pet Grizz. I need to pet Apollo. I need to pet whoever. And it really helps with their mental status of saying, hey, I can make it through the rest of the day. So bear that in mind. Talk to your bosses. Maybe you guys get some dogs. Just kidding. One of them is Cameron here, and his dog is a Weimerheimer Lab. This is Apollo. He's about 2 years old. This is Batman and canine handler Dillard. He's about 3 years old. We actually got him from a Department of Corrections kind of a parolee and puppies type program. So he has some basic obedience, and these guys go through a training to where they get certified, and it's a very rigorous training because they're outside doing stuff with these dogs and commands and things. So they work hard. German Shepherd Grizz, I had him up there. That's his handler Wallace right there. And then last but not least, this is Luca. Luca was rescued from a farm, and he's very happy now. So he's about 2 years old, and that's his handler, Officer Charlton. Now getting into the booking area. Booking area is a very, you have to be pretty knowledgeable about what goes on in the jail, and you really have to make sure that you're really focused on what you're doing because there's a lot involved in the booking area process. So we try to make sure that our staff are trained and are good to go in this area. Classification. For those of you that don't know about classification, when the inmates come in, we basically have a point system that we go through. They do almost a whole background check. They look at everything that they can. And if this person is high class and he's got so many points, he's going to go in this particular area. If this guy is a low class person, hasn't had very many crimes, we haven't had too much trouble with him, he may go into a different unit. So we have a classification process that we go through. We've had a lot of those questions like, how do you put your inmates where? Well, that's how we do it. And that's made up of 5 classification officers and a sergeant supervisor. I love this picture. I took it yesterday and I just blew it up because it makes that hall look like it's really long. So I love that. It's not quite that big. Back in 2020, when we were at the old jail, they had we had to makeshift basically a video court because of COVID had come in. I don't know if any of you were involved in that or remember that. But we did our best to do what we could, which when we were building the jail, this allotted us to have an actual video courtroom, and the judges and stuff were on board with it and they liked it. So we continued it with here. And this area alone can hold up to 100 inmates waiting to go to court. We also do in-person court, but the logistics of taking a person from the new jail and bringing them over here for in-person court, you're talking maybe an hour, hour and a half. Right now, if they go to video court, maybe 10 minutes. So you can see the big comparison, and the logistics is really good for us on that. Extradition is made up of 6 deputies, 2 supervisors, and 2 clerks. Extradition will go to Kansas City 2 or 3 times a week for what we call JPAD inmates. They'll pick them up from Kansas City and bring them to us, and then sometimes they'll transport them there. We also pick up inmates from the airport. So if another county has an inmate that we need to be picked up, we also do that. So their extradition is kind of a logistic nightmare, honestly, but our sergeant does a pretty good job of keeping everything on track. We also, over the sex offender registration, I figured this is some information you guys might want to kind of know if you don't already know, and it's public knowledge. We have a total of 938 registered sex offenders within Greene County. That includes it inside the city limits of Springfield and out in the county incorporated areas. Out of that 938 registered sex offenders, 478 of those fall under what we call Halloween compliance. So every year we go out, and you might hear this and see this. We will go and knock on the doors of those 478 that fall under Halloween compliance and make sure they're home between the hours of 5:30 and 10. Sorry, 5 and 10:30. But there's a Halloween compliance statute that we follow, and we do go check on them. So it's a very daunting task, but I've been doing it for several years, and I really love it because we want to keep them held accountable. So we currently have approximately 72 who are actually absconders or non-compliant with the registration requirements. So right there, that just tells you how big of a job we have trying to keep these guys held accountable for what they've been crimes. And one clerk handles this whole thing. I have to give her praises and kudos all the time and bring her cookies and food because if I don't, I got to keep her happy because she's the only one that handles that. 938. How many do you guys manage? We only manage 400 something at the jail. Couldn't imagine her trying to do 938 by herself. So if you ever see Lisa Simmons, give her kudos for what she does.
Yeah, excuse me, my voice is not real strong if you know me anyway, but I've been sick, so you'll have to pardon my voice. We house like anywhere from 900 to 1,000 inmates on a regular basis. The inmates are housed in several different housing units depending on their classification and their needs when they're in the facility. As Captain Hancock stated, we classify each inmate as they come into the facility, and that determines where they're housed according to their crime, their behavior, institutional known behavior, those type of things. And then we have inmates that have special needs like mental health needs, medical needs, and things of that sort. Within those housing units, the inmates are served all of their meals, their shower areas, they see their attorneys, communicate with their families and friends through a video court. We have video visitation, emails, text messages, and the phone, all those type of things, so they can contact their family and friends and keep up to date on everything that's going on outside the facility. There's vending machines in there, like Captain Howard said, for them to purchase snacks. And there's a recreation area where they get fresh air and sunlight and exercise. We have about 310 detention staff that manage the housing units. That's from the mental health units all the way up to just the general population units. That consists of 4 shifts. Each have about close to 80 people on each shift. There's a lieutenant that oversees the shift, 2 sergeants, 8 corporals, and the rest are all detention officers. They keep the housing units running smooth and keep everybody safe and deal with any situations that happen in there, like fights or disagreements between inmates, questions inmates might have about their court cases, when their next court date is, that type of stuff. This is just a picture of one of the general population units. The cells are, as you can see, on the side of the unit, and then in the very back you can see the recreation area where they can go out and get fresh air and sunlight. There's phones along the walls. They have tablets that they can take into their cells to communicate, or out in the areas to communicate with family and do different functions on. We also have dormitory style units for both male and female units. The regular housing units hold 58, and they consist of 2 and 4 bed cells. The dormitory units are 24 to 50 bed units, depending on, I think our 24 bed unit is trustees, the inmates that work within it. We have segregation units. Captain Howell went over those a little bit. That's just for inmates that can't follow the rules while they're in the facility, or have trouble functioning around other inmates. And then the special housing units is mental health, medical, and we also house some inmates in the medical unit where they have, if they have a care need for medical care, if they just came back from the hospital and still need a little time before they go back to general population or into a regular cell by themselves. That way they can get to better life. I'll turn this over back over to Captain Major Johnson. See if you guys have any questions.
All right, well, that concludes our presentation. Just open it up for questions. If anyone has any questions. Yes, sir.
Captain Howell talked about clothing and socks, buying socks. What kind of clothing are provided to the inmates when they come in? Are socks provided, or?
No, they're not.
They want better socks.
Correct. Yeah. So whenever an inmate comes in, they get actually several changes of clothing, which consists of a jail uniform. We provide boxers or panties and bras for the females. We provide a pair, pants, shirts. But as far as anything else beyond that, and shoes, but we don't provide socks. So everybody gets jail flip-flops. And if they want to purchase extra things like T-shirts that go underneath their jail uniform or socks, they can do that. Any other questions? All right. Sounds good. Thank you.